Thank you. Let's humble ourselves for a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, King of glory, we want to exalt you. We thank you. We glorify you. You're such a good and a loving Father. We thank you, Abba Father, for this Father that you brought us. We thank you, Abba Father, for the good life that you've given us, for having kept us alive from the day one until today, Father, King of glory, that we meet in one accord. Father, Lord, we pray that whatsoever we're going to be discussing here, whatsoever we're going to be sharing here, it will be able to nourish our bodies. It will be able, Father, King of glory, to grow our spirits and minds, our Father. We pray that you'll be the one to guide us, you'll be the one to protect us, always, even after this meeting. Continue to bless us, continue to make us grow in you and in wisdom. We pray all that, believing and trusting in the mighty name of Jesus Christ, our Lord.
Amen.
Amen.
Yeah, and then before we begin the meeting, I want to remind all of you that we expect several people to be joining in the meeting. Of course, sometimes they come in late, but yeah, several people are going to join in. And our YouTube channel is Educational Missions Africa. You can subscribe. On my side, I'm Conrad Leonard. I'm the Director, Educational Missions Africa. I'll also talk about how someone can overcome his fear of. For now, let me call on to Stanley to take us through his teaching. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Conrad. I appreciate it. Paul, of course, good to see you. Eric, good to see you. Jim Rohn has passed away at this particular point, but he made a couple of statements, and one of them that he said was that when I change, everything changes. When I change, everything changes. You know, we can learn all sorts of things, and there's lots of information on the educational website. There's lots of information from anybody that you can pull information down from, but it's our responsibility to apply that information to begin to change. If we really want to see our lives begin to move in the right directions, we have to change ourselves and taking our responsibilities for that. Now, I know that both of you, all of you are aware with coaching, having a coach, okay, or being a mentor, being mentored, okay? And I wanted to explain quickly the difference between being a mentor and being a coach. Here at Educational Missions, we like to consider ourselves more mentors than coaches. A coach usually works on very short-term goals and tells the client exactly what they need to do. Give you a good example here. Let's say if somebody is not physically fit, they're overweight. A coach might tell them, all right, you're gonna have to exercise 30 minutes a day. You're gonna have to watch what you eat. A coach is gonna tell the person what they need to do to be able to reach their goal in a short period of time. And it may be their responsibility. For an example, a coach may be responsible for making sure that person gets out there and does the exercising. In other words, actually show up or sort of hold their hand. So coaching is a lot of short-term goals, and the coach is actually driving the team member, okay? They're driving the person. Mentoring is totally different. Mentoring, it's the responsibility of the protege or the mentee, the person who's being mentored, the protege, to be able to choose what goals that they want to reach and what activities they're going to do to reach that goal. And that's the way that we take a look at educational missions. Is we're not going to tell you what to do or how to do it, but we want you to decide what it is that you want to accomplish and then determine how can we mentor, encourage you, help you, provide you some support to be able to get there. So it's the difference between mentoring and coaching. I'm sure Paul has a number of people that he has to mentor and to bring along as you go along. Same way with Eric. I know you got folks, and you have to treat people differently depending on where they are. Sometimes it requires a coach to be hardcore with a person and make sure that they move forward. Sometimes it's better to have a mentor that sort of loves on the person, tries to pull them out and say, okay, what it is. And we want the person to make the individual commitment. And so that's our basic teaching today is let's all take personal responsibilities. Let's go back to the original quote is when I change, everything changes. And I realize as a protege or a mentee being mentored by somebody that it's my responsibility to change my life. And when I take responsibility, then my life will begin to change. With that, I'll hand it back to you, Mr. Conrad.
Yes, thank you, Stanley. And yeah, that is true. When you change, everything changes. I'm not sure if Paul has something to share about change as well. Paul, do you have anything to say?
Thank you, Conrad. Many great things can be done in a day if you do not make that day tomorrow. That hit me up so hard that so many times we find ourselves wanting to do something, but you keep on postponing it. You keep on postponing. You do not want to face the realities of change in your life. You're scared of the change sometimes. You're scared of taking a step to say, okay, let me get this done. Because there is an exercise that I'm doing. And I think since 2017, I would keep on postponing. I'm like, oh no, I'll do that. I'll do that next month. Then from next month, I said I'll do that next quarter, from the other quarter to half a year to next year. Until when I was like, no, this time around, I have to take it on. I'm engaging all parties to make sure that it is done. And I'm giving it a period of about 2 months because everyone is telling me, okay, in a period of 1 month and everything. So I told them, oh, I'm giving myself a maximum of about 2 to 3 months. So many things in our lives can be done, can be changed in a day, if that day is not tomorrow. So I want us to take that for this week. Maybe it's a take home for all of us. Go and really get to ponder on that. How many things have we been postponing? You know, you're like, I'll do that tomorrow. I'll do that the other day. I'll do that the other day. And it never comes to pass. Thank you, Conan.
Just 25 minutes past 6 on our side, Stanley, and allow me invite our guest speaker, Mr. Fiston Muganga. Thank you.
Thank you, Conrad. Hi, Stanley. Hi, Paul. Hi, Shara. Hey, Juan. And everyone. Actually, turns out Shara and Juan, one of my close friends that live nearby. Well, one way I present myself to is I'm an octopus. If I was to frame, my profile into one word, so I look at an octopus as being a good profile that fits me. And that's because throughout my journey, it hasn't been like something that I am picturing myself into this, this style of a refugee life. But if there's one thing that has kept me going, is, decision. The two things I'm trying to swing with is what Stanley just shared and what Paul also shared. Like if I change, then everything around me changes. And we can make so many things in a day. If we don't make that day tomorrow, there is always also this quote that says, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with 1 kilometer. There is also a quote that says, we should never fear making mistakes. We shouldn't be scared of making mistakes. But my work, my journey, my activism goes with a quote that says, well, making mistakes, it's great, but repeating the same mistakes is never great. As we quote that we make mistakes and those mistakes makes us who we are, and then we get better at it. We do mistakes and we correct mistakes to make things better, because if you keep doing the same shit, Americans say that if you keep doing the same shit, you keep staying in the same shit. So if you do shit, you need to learn from the shit you did so you can you scale up. And I remember 10 years ago, I was a guy stable at home with, full of dreams and enthusiasm of, going to college, being a pilot or being somebody. Being a doctor actually was one of the things that I dreamt of becoming. But then out of the blue, life threw us this other side of the world, and we got ourselves into a refugee situation where there was nothing important than survival. You sleep and wake up, you're alive. That was the most important thing. The only thing that I dreamt of was sleeping and waking up again. As you can tell, I had dreams that, sank away. I had dreams that faded away because of this mass disruption, this political instability, of course, of being parted from my family for about 10 years. That was traumatizing, right? But I had a decision. A decision was to say, I don't want to stand stiff. I don't want to stand strong. I just want to stand flexible. I want to be able to move with the wind so I don't fall. I don't want to be a very strong, stiff tree. I want to be a flexible tree that can move any side of, the wind. And that's how I got to be, For example, integrating a community of English-speaking, country isn't an easy thing when you can't speak any language. And I had to take on decision to learn English. And that started from YouTube videos, learning from YouTube videos. It was funny, I will tell you, if somebody phoned me in front of a screen repeating what someone says, it looked funny. But over time, I got to know English and I started teaching English. I taught, about 500 people. Lots of people in Nakivale actually teach English. Others own English centers have been taught by me. I have taught several people, and one element of change is growth. Things are changing when you see an improvement. That's the change we want. You don't love change when you're into regression. You don't love change if you had $10,000 and in 2 years you have $5,000. That's not the change we want. You want to have a change, that is increasing. That you want to have a change that's advantageous. And having a change that's advantageous, one has to be very, very good with decision and persistence. And oftentimes we are not able to heal from our procrastination. I will tell you, this does not imply in businesses or on how we set our goals only. This happens on a daily basis. So I think it's really important as a human being, especially as the young people, and this is a message to people, like me, people into activism. We do evaluation every day. Before you sleep, there's always a time you pause for 5 minutes. Think about what you did, what you didn't do, what you wish you did, but you didn't do. All these are, things, these are questions, while you introspect, that questions that stimulate you, to start taking a decision, start acting now. As we may say, acting now is not just a simple word, trust me. It's not just a simple word. There's a guy called Eric War. I think he's a guy dealing with network marketing, something like that. He says, it's never done until you do it and make sure it's really done, right? So if you did something and you think you already done it without successfully achieving it, you might find yourself doing it halfway, or it's halfway done. And that is not an attitude of, whatever leadership, or a change maker should be having. Maybe the other thing throughout my journey as well was, I don't want to be more philosophical, calling it compassion to myself, but I think it's really, really important not to pity yourself. Living life beyond pity is one of the things that makes a person a passion, especially a man, being a man. You don't become a man if you've never tried manning up. If you don't man up, you haven't done things you've never done before. You don't call yourself a change or a change maker or a leader, because along leadership, there comes lots of pitfalls, lots of drawbacks and setbacks that somebody has to play with. You play with, you don't try fixing it. One good component with the mentor as well, what Stanley said was that somebody gets to choose what they want, and then you help them achieve that potential. The interesting part is that you get to walk the journey with them. And if you get to walk the journey with them, You're not simply teaching them, you're also learning from them. But in the meantime, you're trying to set a space for them, a space. You create an environment where they can practice and open up to you who they are. So you really can also picture this person and be able to walk into their shoes, be able to speak their own language. I think one way we do our leadership, we apply our leadership in the wrong way, is when we put our educational, backgrounds, our expertise forward, and we call ourselves mentors. In mentorship, it doesn't go with the experiences. It goes with what you hold at heart, what you want to help the person with. You walk the journey with them. So you don't do things because you have been taught or you've seen lots of things before. No, you try to set an environment that helps both of you and them to be, to be at this level of walking the journey together. There's going to be a time you need help. There's going to be a time they need help. And in mentoring, you need to cultivate. You're basically trying to help this person be the best version of themselves. You're not dictating to them what they should do. So it's not like you do this because I did it before. You don't do this because I watched it before. I've watched it failing. No, actually, rather than that, you clap for all the wrong things they do as well. Encourage them to keep doing a new mistake every day. It might be uncomfortable to us, especially the things people do and you hate or you dislike them. Things they've done that hasn't never been done to you. But aside from you being a mentor, you still accept that shit happened to them. You still work with them. You give it a smile. You don't rebuke it. You give it a smile. You help this person to cultivate flexibility that helps them navigate the adversities in their life and be able to rise from there. And I think that's what I have come to learn from people, people in my surrounding, people in my world. I think I had a privilege of having people both physically and virtually, people like Ishara here on the call, people like Wani here on the call. I will tell you the way we change ourselves is, if I paid you a visit, like Wani recently had a visit, and the one he told me how amazing, he's doing this work. One question I asked Eric was, why are you doing this, man? Why are you into this? It's not a business, it's humanitarianism. Why are you doing it? And he spoke something that I picture it and gave it a symbol of, having a heartfelt desire to change. And that's what comes with who we really want to be. A heartfelt desire to change it doesn't imply into a business world. It implies in how you do humanitarianism. And if you get to be a mentor or a leader, you need to have that heartfelt desire to walk the journey with the person. And along with the journey, there comes disciplines. There will always be a discipline on a daily basis. You want to make sure, things are not done as you wanted them to be, but I think things are done and everyone learns, everyone has a takeaway from, from your endeavors, from your life, from all your journey. That's how I got to be, man. I was a simple refugee, but then I got into activism. I started serving. I was a teacher. I interpreted. I worked as a facilitator. I took part into lots of initiatives, and I'm doing project management and community development. To me, mentoring me hasn't been only this woman in the US teaching me what to do. It's always also been me being on ground, listening to people I'm serving, being with them there. That's also been a part of my mentorship journey. So if I got to be a mentor today, I wouldn't say, well, I've been taught by one expert. There's been, lots of thousands of people who've all been part of my mentorship journey. And so I am who I am because of those people. I think that's one time in Africa we have the Ubuntu philosophy that we try to apply, in Africanness, and that goes, I am because you are. To me, that simply doesn't mean, you have an impact on me, I have an impact on you. It's more than just, it's more than that. It also means I do things because I know you guys exist, and you do things because I exist. So one way or the other, there's always this bold bond we try to build together as humans, and that's really something I take at heart. That has molded me into who I am.
You have really accomplished quite a bit. Taught over 500 people how to speak English after you taught yourself.
Oh yeah, I've held lots of classes. Ishara, can you recall? I have taught for so many years, and Ishara is a witness. He's actually a colleague, a workmate. And 500 people could be a lowest estimate. We have people, 1,000 people speaking English. And like I'll be walking in the journey and somebody stops me and say, "Hey, do you remember I took part in one of your classes? I'd love to invite you in my center." And I go, "Wow, that's really amazing. You could be able to do this." And that's a privilege. That's a privilege, and it keeps me going as well.
I just love to hear this, and it is interesting listening from Fiston. One other question: what motivates you to work this hard?
What motivates me to work this hard is, do you know this story of ants, the insects? Ants. Yes. Great. So there's this story that my grandfather used to tell me about how powerful ants are, that they don't get to carry, they could be able to kill their predator because of their togetherness. So I look at that as as a very big motivation to me to say, I am only one piece, one drop of water into this big ocean, and if I am one drop of water into this big ocean, then I'm basically water. I'm basically part of this ocean, right? So I don't call it a change if I know what to do with the change, and I don't want to do it. I see the gaps, and I have the potentials, and I have the courage to pursue something that's going to help fill into this gap, and I don't want to do it. I'm part of the distraction, and that really helps me stand on my feet and say, I am because these people are. And if I'm able to have this stick, this road, this stuff to be able to make a way for them, I'm basically going to do it. I don't mind who's coming behind me. I mind of the way I'm trying to pave. I'm paving a way for me to go through, for other people to go through, And I'm a guy that thinks long term. So my existence, I don't think of myself in one year. I think of myself in 5 years. For example, now I think of me being a dad, and I look around, what educational system do you have in Africa? Do I really love my child to be taught the same way I was taught? Do I really love my child to be living the same way I lived? And that helps me a lot. I say, well, there's something that needs to be done, and I think I know how to do it. So I want to be part of those who are already doing it. We join forces together and do the work.
Wow.
So that zeal of always improving helps me going. Yep.
You're a big dreamer. What is your dream?
Oh, my big dream is simply being a source of inspiration, being a contributor to what other people are contributing to, for good.
Well, that is interesting. And then the other thing is, how easy is it being an activism in the Nakivare Cup? Because it being that you are
it's not easy, bro. It's not easy. It hasn't been easy, and I think I'll definitely tell somebody else it will never be easy, but it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
Those who are changing, they're not doing change because it's an easy thing to do. It's not a piece of cake,
Mm-hmm.
Like, it takes a whole journey. It takes your energy, it takes all your effort, it takes your focus. Somehow you go back in your own room and shed tears simply because you got denied or rejected, or betrayed by the people. But that doesn't stop you from serving. I think along with the leadership skills, there is this zeal, the love for humanity. Is one of the key engines into our leadership work. You realize when you're doing something for your own benefit, so your ego comes forward, you're not going to do it. If you do things for other people's sake, you'll keep going, no matter what. So being a refugee, there comes limited, right? There are certain areas of life you don't intervene in. We have had people being seized, being tortured, being punished, being killed into activism. And we look at all that as a motivation. We have these people we are now calling heroes today. It's not because they put their own gains forward. They actually had people's well-being, at the core of their activism. And I think that is a picture somebody should be having. Like, it's never gonna be easy, but it will always be possible.
Sure, I have a feeling that it is quite hard. But of course, I am sure Stanley has something to say. But I have this other last one. Maybe when Stanley has said something, I will need you to also take us through, like, I'm sure you have a scholarship to Canada. How has that been? We also want to hear about that good story of scholarship and so on. So about your education. So maybe after Stanley's comment. Thank you.
And please turn on your video when you're talking, if you would, please. Thank you.
Well, my scholarship journey hasn't been an easy thing anyway. But one good thing is I think I have had these qualities that tell the admission team that I can be a good candidate. One good university that would take me would be Idaho State University in Idaho. And that's where I first applied, and then I qualified, and then I applied for a loan, a student loan. I got it, but in the end of the day, I turned it down. And that's simply because I looked at Oregon, Idaho State, how life is, culture, and I pictured myself into the US. And I think I didn't appreciate how, people in Idaho behave. And so I turned the offer down. So I applied to Glasgow, and then I also got admitted, but there was very, very limited funds. So I didn't have enough funding by that time. So I didn't succeed. But one thing I kept doing was my activism. I would work, I would speak in events. Like I had a privilege to go to Morocco, where I met a couple of people interested. I think I got some people who were very interested in me and the work I'm doing in the refugee camp and how I got to be in the refugee camp. I think my brilliance as well. It might be bizarre, but I think they lack that sense of humor. They looked at this quality of a leader into me. And they said, someone promised, I'm gonna have your name published, and you could write articles. I'm a very good, passionate of writing. I love writing about education. I'm an education advocate because I basically don't believe the education we have had for decades will keep being the same education, that we need in Africa, especially with lots of that's changing, the global warming thing. And then I finally spoke to this one international conference with over 500 people, where I got to meet Liza, who then hired me as a contractor and as a project manager to her work. And she said, I might not be able to help you enough, but through me, there is basically some good resourceful people that you get to meet. And that's how I got to meet them. I took part into a course called Leading into the Emerging Future. And that was a course given by Otto Sharma from the MIT. So I took a course and I became a course host. So I started hosting dialogues. And basically, I think the team liked that. And they said, well, we'll try to get you into college. You apply. If you pass, then we'll get you to college, right? So I applied. And I got to understand the 8 people out of 10 who claim to be helpful, but in the end they're really not. But the good thing, I stuck on 2 people who helped me go through the paperwork, equating my documents, and finally I got admission in Concordia University in Canada. So the second part was to secure funding. And the very first solution that came in mind is, look, I know people. I know about 1,000 people. So if anyone offered $10 or $100, then I'll have something, to take me through college. So I ran the crowdfunding, and through GoFundMe, I got to meet a person who knows a person as well. got, and then we were in touch via emails. I did a couple of Zoom meetings, and they decided to travel from the UK to meet me in Kampala for an interview. So we did an interview, and finally they liked it, and they said, "We're paying you." So they're paying it, and they already paid 1 full year. So I have 1 full year scholarship, but also I have a written promise that if I pass 1 year, and then they are able to pay all the 4 years. So hopefully my college is already covered. That's one thing. And I would certainly really love to be able to help other people and other initiatives through the money that I get to raise, because I believe I'm a good product of networking, and I believe in networking. And if I go to college through networking, I want to invest into that. I want to see young people, putting their efforts together. And then we can all put our efforts together. It might be financial effort, it might be a psychological effort to be able to create this change we are all driving for. So my courses, I'll be measuring in human relations with a huge concentration on community development. The reason why is I think lots of projects fail because the strongest foundations are the local populations, because we're basically doing everything for them to better their lives. And if we are able to do that, then it's really essential that we get to design solutions based on what they're yearning for. And so I want to keep being a community developer for years. That's how I want to dedicate my life.
Wow, a lot of things. So thank you so very much. I never go short of questions. They're not questions, but I'm sure at some point they are so helpful to most of these people. If you had the chance to meet, maybe I can say the top manager of the anchor UNCRC, it is UNHCR, the United Nations High Commission Refugee. If you had the chance to meet any of the top committee members, what advice would you give them?
I think rather than advice, which would be, taken aggressively by these top leaders and people in power, I would be so kind to request a co-creation, a co-designing opportunity with them. Like, I'm a person with lived experiences, so I don't believe in somebody that lived displacement in Syria to be able to design solutions for, Ugandan refugees. And one thing, maybe not an advice, a message is it doesn't always work when we do a copy pasting system, which is, I certainly disagree calling somebody an expert from India to come and apply his expertise in Uganda, especially, in a refugee setting. I believe that lots of change. We have diverse situations, and we have our own particular, ways we do things. We live our own lives. So I think if there was one person to be appointed as an expert for refugees in Uganda, this should definitely be a person who lived a refugee life in Uganda and who went to school to be able to better, the Ugandan refugees. So I see lots of discrepancies in the whole system, mainly how youth get to participate in the co-creation or co-designing or the decision-making of services, and also how refugees get included. I just read one recent article by the UNHCR. They claim to be valuing the work of refugees, but I don't see any refugees being lawyers. I would love them to be lawyers, and now we'll have refugee-led organizations. I dream to have a UN secretary who is a refugee. That would be one of my, my biggest conviction, to say at least we have equity and equality. So it wouldn't be an advice, it would be an opportunity to work together, really be down, ground things down and come to a community level.
Interesting. And then if you had a chance to also send a message to all the other refugees in Uganda, outside Uganda, what message would that be?
The hustle never stops. We'll keep doing it. For ourselves, for our kids, for others.
That is so good, Fiston, and it is so nice to listen from you. I just like the zeal. I like the motivation. I like that whatever is pushing you, surely keep it on. I'm sure the sky is no longer the limit. Keep pushing. We just pray that wherever you go, please represent us well and represent your family so well. We can only pray for you. Do we have any other question for Fiston? It can even be an appreciation message to him from any of you.
Well, I want to take this moment to once again to congratulate Fiston and to thank him for really not giving up. When Conrad sent me his video, Fiston's face was very vivid in my mind because you know, when we went to Native Valley and were sharing about the Think to Prosper book and so many other aspects in that line, Fiston was very, very active and he was very inquisitive. He wanted facts. That is one thing that I knew when I got to know about him. That in whatever things that we had to say, he wanted to hear you share facts and speak with facts. Are we together? And speak things that are practical. And I remember giving him my answers and sharing what I know with them. And I don't know whether he was contented or not, but I believe we're still in good books. But I want to congratulate him upon that milestone. And yeah, like how he said, the hustle never stops. To anyone else there, anyone out there, not only to the refugees, but even us here, you know, so many times we try to do so many things. But one thing that we should bear in mind that the hustle or the hard work should never stop at any given time too. Thank you. That is my submission for now.
Thank you so much for everyone, and thank you, Fiston, for sharing. Mine is just to congratulate you for this step. You have done great thing, and we appreciate, we are proud of you. What I can say is to wish you good luck and God to represent us.
Thank you, Eric. On to you, Isara.
Yeah, thank you so much for the floor. I would like, first of all, to congratulate my brother, Fiston Muganga, who has been always there for me. He has been my mentor for many years and friends as well. We've been working together at primary school as teachers, as well as English instructors for early. He mentioned that he was about to instruct 500 people, but I believe it's not only 500 people, it's thousands and thousands of people, because the people Fiston instructed right now are the one overtaking the achiever. The heart that he has for community is so big, and the love that he has also. I believe that where he is going, he's going to make it, and he's going to represent us, and is going to help many lives of youths living in marginalized communities to change. Also is an inspiration, and many people also are going to be inspired and are going to have also new perspectives regarding refugee lives, and they are going also to reach to their potentials through the sharings and the encouragement and the experience that Fiston is going to get there. And to children, I believe also he has been able to teach thousands of children, because at the school where we were, we had like 1,020 children, and Fiston has been there the teacher, and he has been able to move almost in all the classes from primary to up to primary 7. So believe that dedication, you had the same commitments as you are going to go at Concordia. It's the same thing that you are going to have. Wishing you all the best. May God be with you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Sarah. And yeah, we continue to pray for Fiston, and we are sure he's going to represent us well. Stanley, I have a video I wanted to share. It is on TikTok, but
All right, you're sharing, okay.
I've sent it to you in your inbox. You can share it on your computer, even if we just listen to it. It's all about how to overcome fear.
Yeah.
What you doing?
I'm reviewing some pictures.
Okay. Quick one.
Uh-huh.
You know, for the longest time, I've battled fear in relations to various things.
Okay.
So I was wondering, what would you tell someone that would help them overcome fear?
Number one, I would want people to recognize that there is always going to be two forms of fear. There is rational fear and irrational fear. Rational fear was put into us by God to safeguard us. I mean, if this house is catching fire, I should fear death and run away. That's rational fear. If there is a lion outside roaring, I shouldn't just come out and say I. So that's rational fear. But then there is irrational fear, where people fear to start businesses, people fear to date
That one.
beautiful people.
That one.
People fear to engage in different things.
That's the one I'm talking about.
And that one I related to something I read in Matthew 14, 28 to 31, where we take a record of the only two people who walked on water. That is Peter and Jesus. So Peter was in the boat, saw Jesus walking on water, and told him, "Lord, if you're the one, call me such that I also walk on water." And Jesus told him, "Come." So they say that Peter left the boat, walked on water, but then looked left and saw the wind, looked right and saw waves coming against him. So he lost the focus while walking, and then he started drowning. So he started even calling out to God, "God help me, God help me." So Jesus approaches him, grabs him, and tells him, "Ye of little faith, why have you doubted yourself?" I juxtaposed that verse to another verse, John 21:7. They say that Jesus was by the shore, and they told Peter, "The man is there. He just put on a garment." And this same Peter swam 100 yards. So we ask ourselves, in the earlier time, Peter swam 100 yards. This time when he's walking on water, he feared to drown. So you realize that most of the things we fear are going to be things we've even never done before, things we have the ability to do. But Jesus is making it plain to us that fear is going to be anchored on lack of faith and self-doubt. So where does lack of faith come from? The things we hear. You grew up people telling you you can't dance, you can't sing. For you, you were a failure. So you start lacking faith in yourself, and you self-doubt on anything. The news I have for you is, the word I have for you is, what you can actually do is to start regaining faith in yourself by not allowing the earthly systems to grade you. Things like what they told you, things like the report cards, what your report cards show. That is the outside. There is the inside, which is the you, which you should have the faith in, and you start taking on these things like the outside doesn't matter. And when you start having faith in you, the faith will grow when you self-educate. Learn about these things you're fearing. If you're fearing women, learn about women. Fearing money, learn about money. Fearing startup, learn how to start up. The more you self-educate, the more you do away with ignorance, the more you come closer to being an expert in knowing, and the fear will vanish. I think that's what I can say for now.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Interesting. Thank you so very much, Stanley, for sharing that. I was just looking through and I found that video. On my side, I found that video interesting. And I can say I liked how it's talking about fear, because initially we all have fears. And the way the gentleman is saying, there is rational fear and irrational fear. So a rational fear is this fear that we are born with. You just know you have to fear it. Okay, he used two examples. When the house is on fire, you have to fear and run out. When you see a lion, you have to fear the lion and then run for your life. That is rational fear. But when we go to irrational fear, our most focus should be on the irrational fear. This is just because they told you in your clan, no one ever passed mathematics. And just because no one has ever passed mathematics, you feel like, well, in our family, no one can ever pass. And you just feel like you can never make it. That is irrational fear. And it is the other example as well. You just feel like in your family, no one has ever tried something and then it is successful. No one has ever owned a car, and just several examples. And the advice he's giving us is, how do you overcome this fear? First of all, learn about your fear. If you fear maybe mathematics, learn about mathematics. How do you pass mathematics? How many people pass mathematics? If you're looking at maybe the grades of secondary schools, if you're looking at the grades of mathematicians in your country, and of course outside countries, learn about them. How have they achieved this? They're saying, is it so easy to overcome? Is it so hard to overcome? Think about it. How best can you achieve that you feel like you fear? And then the other thing is, have faith, because you can do this. Have faith in you. If you feel like I can do this. I just like the way Fiston is so motivated, and the several questions I was asking him, I think he has tried to overcome this fear. Even when he feels like he's a refugee, yes, he's in the camp, he feels he can even do better than someone who is outside the camp. He feels like he can even do better than, it is not all about that refugees have no education. It is not about that people who are in DRC don't speak English. He's able to learn the English from a YouTube channel. He's able to learn these things. He's not listening to anyone just because these things have happened. He doesn't want to listen to that. It is him, and he's shaping his own way. So he has tried to overcome all these fears. And I think we all have these fears in ourselves. First and foremost, I'm sure we all know that we fear starting up businesses. If it is a business, you feel like, oh my God, I think it is going to fail. I think, how much do I need to invest? Just because you feel like people have told you they have failed in their businesses, and you feel like you're also going to fail. Someone tells you, if you start up maybe a chapati business, you will earn some good money. But you don't know what people have considered in the beginning. And this is where I bring you to our Think to Prosper book. It teaches you the steps of how best can you achieve in that business. If you have a small business, how best can you achieve in that business? The business is small. It is the same thing we're talking about when we were in Achiever, Paul and I were talking about. People were saying, but we don't have the money. Yes, you don't have the money, but what business have you thought about? First of all, you've not thought about the business. You've not thought about what you need. But in your mind, you know that for whatever business you have to start, you need money. And you don't know how much money you need to start up that business. So before you even put in yourself that fear of, I don't have money, what have you put on table? Can you think about starting up a business? Can you think about how much money you need to start up that business? So by so doing, I'm sure you're going to overcome that fear, and you can easily start up a business, whether you have some good money or whether you have some little money, because you have taken several steps to think about this and you have overcome that fear that is in you. Instead of saying, I don't want to start up a business because I need money, you've removed that thing of I need money. You've thought about the business. But what if I start the business with my friend? Maybe my friend has the money, or maybe it needs little capital, or maybe I can get that little capital. So you have to first overcome that fear, and then after that, you can easily succeed in whatever thing you're going to do. I just felt this was so good to end up our conversation today. But I want once again, I have a hand from Paul. I want once again thank Fiston for his word today. And I will still say we continue to pray for him. We continue to engage him. And we just hope that he does his best because we all know education. And this is a promise he has made to his fundraisers. He has promised to do the best, and we just pray that he can do the best. Thank you, and thank you so very much. Paul.
Thank you, Conrad, for sharing that about fear. And thank you for each and everyone. Today I see the Quran is really big. I love the numbers there. And I take this moment to welcome you and tell you we're always here on Wednesdays or on Tuesdays, or when we share the flyers. But you're always welcome to be our guests here. And to add something more little to fear. Now, this is one thing that I've got to teach my soul. And I've got to learn of late. And I want to tell it to you. Let other people's fears motivate you to sail through the waves. Because on this earth that we live on, there are very many opportunities. Trust me, if today Fiston had like more 100 people who were advocating for what he's advocating, if there were about 200, 300 people who were chasing the same goal he's chasing, and they're into a competition, trust me, the fear within Fiston would be so much. The pressure would be so much. But you see that he tried to fight this within him, and he has been laying a foundation for the last 3 years. Are we together? When I was starting Charity Gospel Missions Africa, people always told me, no, wait, don't you think you need to do like a local community organization? Don't you think you need to? I had told them my vision, I had a vision, I had a mission. But from what I would tell them, they looked at charity as a very big thing. And indeed, it was big. So the project that I had in my mind was so fierce to them. And they always told me, how will you be able to implement all that? How will you be able to catch up with all that? That is too huge. I think you could start off with a CPO, then maybe as you grow, you get to make it an NGO. I listened to their statements and I let them pass on this other side. Like they came in and they went out. I didn't want to hold them within my mind. I said, no, that very big thing that they are drawing me away is what I want to venture in. And trust me, every single day that passes by, this thing grows bigger than even me, the founder, everything. When other people get to contact me, they're like, could you please connect me to your founder of the organization? Could you please connect me to maybe your directors of the organization? And I'm like, never mind, just give me your contact, I'll contact you. But they don't know that I'm the final person in the founding body. So let other people's fears motivate you to sail through the waves. If we're going out there to fish and other people are saying, no, the waves are so high, they're hitting so hard, then you have a chance to go faster so that by the time they think of coming to fish, you're already coming back to the market. So by the time they come to the market, you've already determined the price because you are selling when no one was selling. So take advantage of other people's fear. That is one other thing. That is one thing that I can share with you. But still take baby steps and face your fear. Let's know how to face our fears. And if you have some crucial fears that can mentally break you down or depress you, please don't talk to them, don't talk or deal with them alone. Always reach out to some people who have been through this, who can guide you through this. Because I put something on my status last week, and I was like, I would rather listen to your story than attend your funeral. Trust me, because it will cost me about 2-3 hours listening to your story and guiding you than drive for 5-6 hours coming for your burial. So trust me, mental health is very key in our daily living aspects. Don't try so much to constrain your mind because we're telling you to face your fears. No, there are some fears that you need to be guided as you face them. There are fears that you need to face with other people's assistance. Thank you, everyone. God bless you. Shalom.
Thank you, Paul. I know we are running short of time. It's late here in Uganda. Yes, Stanley, you have a hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to say this one thing about fear. Fear is always future tense. It's always in the future, okay? We don't fear the things that we're already involved in right at the moment, okay? Fear is future tense, and it is because we're thinking of something that might go wrong. We're thinking of something, and Paul's right. Sometimes you need to reach out and you need to have a friend or individual to hold your hand through certain thoughts. But fear, let me tell you what happens. Sheet of paper, okay? Fear is emotional. Fear is emotional. When you take a sheet of paper and you write down what it is that you're afraid about or what's creating that fear for you, quite often that cannot be translated onto the paper because it's logical. What goes on the paper is logic. What goes around in our heads many times is emotions. It's fears, okay? So when we look at something that we're afraid about, if we'll take a sheet of paper and pencil and begin to write those things down, you'll find that logic will appear on that paper. And as that logic appears on the paper, you'll probably find that your fears may be unsubstantiated, not quality. That's all I wanted to say. I know we are getting late here, so turn it back over to you, Conrad. And I want to invite, thank all of our guests that were here today. I appreciate it. Make sure y'all go to Educational Missions. Make sure we have your email addresses if you don't mind, and of course your WhatsApp number. Go ahead, Conrad.
Yeah, thank you so very much. And I also wanted to share the same about we have meetings each and every Tuesday if you have some time. I already shared a link of our Tuesday's meetings. It is the same link that you always use, but you can still join from our website. So when you just get to our website, let me just share it. You just put educationalmissions.org and then you click on meetings. The button is just right here. You'll find that you can easily access our meetings. We have several meetings that have happened. We have several videos here. You can click on one and you'll be able to go to our YouTube channel. But when you click on this, click here to join the Zoom meeting. You will join and all you'll be asked is this password, and our password never changes. So every Tuesday, if you are willing to join into our meetings, we have several guest speakers. You can always create time and join us. So, and apart from that, thank you so very much, all of you, for creating time. We are so happy, we are so humbled to have you sacrificing your time and your data. We know it is so expensive here in Uganda to have that data, but yeah, we appreciate so very much your time and your sacrifice. Please, if you can still sacrifice more, we know we can always learn from one another. You never know what you can get from here, and then it is a testimony tomorrow. Then the other thing, we had several messages in the chat, and I've tried to read all of them, but most of them were talking about okay, it was more of an appreciation to Fiston. Apart from that, I want to wish you a blessed evening and a blessed night, a blessed day to Stanley, who is still in his afternoon.
Conrad, thank you for doing a good job as normal. You're really developing in your speaking skills and your group management skills. You really, really are.
Thank you so much for appreciating.